This video is from my buddy Dave. Dave pretty much wrapped up the work on your 1966 Silvertone model 1488 guitar. So I'll take you through kind of what we did. First off, the biggest thing that we did was this pick guard, and our buddy Dan at Virtuoso Customs built a new pick guard. Why did we do that? A couple of reasons. The old pick guard was shrinking badly. And you can see how it's stressed and pulled away from the screws right there. That screw hole, for example, that top one there. But we had to replace the potentiometers or pots, and they were bad. And I couldn't even get this back one off. In fact, unfortunately, I had to kind of destroy it to get it off of there because Dan needed this as a template. Also, this switch is bad. It just would not work at all to select the pickups. And they don't make them anymore, and they're impossible to find. And you'd pay a fortune for an old one, and chances are it wouldn't work either. So there was reasons why, as you know, we had to basically ditch the old pick guard, okay? Unfortunately, that was the case. And there's your original information on the back, which hopefully hang on to this for prosperity. So we swapped it out. We went with a Jaguar-type switching configuration here to select your pickups. And then we went with new potentiometers. And then Dan at Virtuoso Customs was able to color match these as close as we could to the original knobs, which are impossible to get and they won't fit on modern pots, etc. So I think he did a really good job blending it in. So you got a new jack, new pots. We used all the original caps except for the one on the middle pickup, and we're going to talk about that in a second. And the original pickups are installed. So beautiful job to Dan. Thank you, Dan, for doing this. You got it set up really nicely. Unfortunately, our middle pickup has very little, if any, output at all. So when I tested these, all I did was test them with the multimeter, and they all read the same resistance readings, so that I was very enthusiastic and thought, okay, this is going to be great. Unfortunately, this middle pickup is weak, but the neck and the bridge sound amazing individually and together. And this is a master volume. Your first knob that you encounter is your master volume. Makes sense because it's close to the bridge where you're going to be picking. And then these are tone controls for each of the three. So you can get some incredible tone out of this thing. If in the future you find a pickup and you want to try to swap it out at some point down the road, let me know. I can do that for you. But for now, let's just get it going as is because it really does sound amazing. Another word about the electronics on this guitar, the way it's set up and grounded, it's got a little bit of a staticky and kind of a little bit of a, a little bit of noise. It's not as quiet as, say, a Les Paul or a Stratocaster. It's got a little buzz in the background. That's because of the grounding scheme. Everything is mounted to the pick guard, and the pick guard is just bolted in. So if we need to come back in the future and maybe devise a grounding scheme that's a little different, but it's not built as precision as, say, a Les Paul. It's not going to sound as good as something like that. It's got a little bit of a electronic crackling here and there. It's not too bad. It plays and sounds amazing, but these were not necessarily built to be noiseless guitars. This is very old stuff. We're doing the best we can with it, but if that's a problem in the future for you, let's look at it, okay? While we're back here on the bridge, down underneath here, there's a bar where the strings actually should go underneath the bar as they come up so that you can actually use the old whammy bar, the tremolo, whatever people call it these days. However, it's not really a good idea because you have a wooden bridge here. Your tailpiece should tilt it a little, but you've got a wooden bridge. This thing is just sitting on the top. That's how it's designed, like some acoustic guitars. So if you go to dive bomb this, it's just going to knock this loose and it won't work. So I would actually just recommend taking this arm off because it just flips around. If you want to do that, let me know and I'll take that off before I give it back to you. But it's really impractical. So I didn't put the strings underneath the bar, back up under here. I put them over top of the bar and just let it run across, okay? Much like an old Gibson hollow body electric or something that would have this style of bridge, okay? It sounds really good. And that tone resonates good. So we waxed out the body, cleaned it the best we could. This paint is extremely fragile. It's cracking and chipping and flaking. So I do recommend you get some type of a better case than a gig bag. Not an expensive hard shell case, but they make some for Jaguars and Stratocasters. This should fit in, and it would be a, like a softer case, but not really a hard case, nothing too expensive. But that way it would protect the paint, because it's just going to keep getting chipped and flaked off, okay? But we did the best we could. We got a ton of grime off of here. Oh my God, it was gross, but we got that recovered. As for the neck, we were able to straighten the neck out a little bit. It responded very well to the truss rod, which was the first thing I tested. If that wouldn't work, if the truss rod was broken or whatever, I would have said I can't work on this. So that was the first thing we did, just to make sure we could work on it, and the truss rod responded nicely. Cleaned up the fingerboard good. I sent you the pictures of the stuff, the crud that was on there. We got all that off of there. Frets are in good shape. I think they're going to last you for a while. We built a bone nut, built this out of cattle bone, and it seems to work pretty good. Fitting it was a little bit difficult because when the old nut came off, it took some wood off underneath, so I had to kind of level it with epoxy. I've done the best I can on this nut. I think it's going to serve you well. I did put the tuners on that you sent with it, and they're not precision by any means, but they do work, okay? They'll get it in tune for you. And I'm really proud of being able to get the black grime off of the headstock without compromising the silk screen. So the way I did that was I have these particular Q-tips that are very pointy and long, and just a little bit at a time I was able to scrub around this without taking up any of the silk screening. And that's just an example. Like, I would just make a little circle and I'd come up with all that grime. So we got that really clean. And of course you were unaware of it, and so was I. The coolest thing in the world about this guitar is Frank. Oh my God, Frank, thank you for this cool guitar. And that's what I think you should name it. That's up to you, but God, I would just call this old guitar Frank. I know we tend to give female names to our guitars for obvious reasons. They have nice curves and they're fun to hold. But in this case, hey, let's call it Frank because that's the name that's on there. Again, plays pretty good, not perfect. I think it would be kind of unrealistic to expect perfection on this because it's just quirky. It is what it is, but it is playable. It sounds amazing through my Fender Deluxe Reverb amplifier this morning. Again, a little bit of crackle and hiss here and there as to be expected. We can try to do that, but that might be like chasing goblins. We might not be able to get that out of there. So let's get it on back to you. Let's put it in your hands, play it for a while, see what you think. Hope you like it, brother. This was fun. It was interesting. It was challenging to say the least, but I think we've got it to a state now that I feel pretty good about. It might upset the purist out there that we did so much work on this guitar, but this one wasn't as clean of an example as some that I've seen out there on Reverb, but certainly it was better than some that I've seen. So it's somewhere in the middle. We brought it back to where it can be played and enjoyed. Just don't know if it's going to be something you'd want to gig or record with, but it'll be fun to plug in and play once in a while. It's a good old guitar. Old Frank lives to see another day, brother. All right, enjoy this video, and we'll have this in your hands in a day or two. Talk to you soon. Thanks a lot, Dave, for letting me have the opportunity to do this for you. I enjoyed this. Talk to you soon, buddy.